Alright, boys and girls, today's lesson is lesson 4-6, rounding to the nearest 10. So as we just learned about rounding to the nearest 100, rounding to the nearest 10 is very similar to rounding to the nearest 100 because you're finding the digit you'd like to round to. If you have 765 and you round to the nearest 10, it's no different than when you were rounding 765 to the nearest 100. When you did the nearest 100, this is the digit you would either keep the same or change, and the next two would be zeros. So 7 here would be an 8 because the 6 makes the 7 go higher. Here, you would make the 7 fall down because it's before the digit we're rounding, and then we'd do something with the 6. We'd either go up or we'd stay the same, and the last digit would be a 0. So if you look at 6, next to it is a 5. That tells you that it's 5 or up. You go higher. Let's use the number 43. And if we round to the nearest 10, if 50 was here and 40 was here, what is 43 closer to? Well, 43 is closer to 40. And remember, the digit after the 4 is 4 or below, so that 4 stays the same. So you would round 43 to 40. Let me get this stuff out of the way and have you turn to the first page we're going to work with. We're going to do a little bit of each page, and I'm probably going to send you on your own because there are 4 pages on this. So rounding the nearest 10 is pretty simple stuff. So number 1, round each number to the nearest 10, 63. The digit we're rounding is the 6, and so that you would look at the digit after it, and it's a 3, so it's 4 or below, so that 6 would stay the same for 60. Same goes for 34. It would stay 30 because the 4 is 4 or below. Here, 78, that 7 would turn into an 8 because that 8 is 5 or higher. 25, the 5 is 5 or higher, so it would be a 30. Okay, I'm not going to do all these with you, but I want you to look at the next chunk too. Round each digit to the nearest 10. Don't be fooled because there's a digit in the hundreds place. I'll change the color of the ink. So just look for the tens place in all of them. That means the digit before it stays the same in every one, unless you have a 9 and it rounds up and it carries over. You'll find that in actually this is the example right here. That 197. That 7 will be a 0. That rounds the 9 up to a 10, which is a 0, and then that extra 1 you had makes that 1 a 2. So actually you round up to it'd be 200 here. So 162, that 1 stays the same. The 6 will stay the same because that 2 is 4 or below. 741, you have 7 will stay the same. 4 will actually stay the same because that 1 is 4 or below. Let me see one that goes up. Here's 309. That 9 is higher than 5, so that 0 becomes a 1. And I'm not going to do the rest of them. I think you guys got the hang of this. So I'm going to get this page out of the way. I want to go to the next page. Here are some story problems. So you kind of have to walk through them, talk through them. It tells you a chart on the right. Excuse me. The chart on the right shows how many smoothies the Juice Hut sold yesterday. By rounding each number to the nearest 10, estimate how many smoothies the Juice Hut sold altogether. And also, 13 you would round to, not 100, I was trying to circle the 13, you would round that to 10. 38 you'd round to 40. 44 you'd round down to 40. And 61 you'd round down to 60. You add it all together, you have 0, and then 10, 14, 15. So you have 150 smoothies. Make sure to label it with the unit we're working with, which is smoothies. Okay? So 19 and 20, same thing. You're going to be rounding to the nearest 10. Okay? Today's lesson is rounding to the nearest 10, so don't go off and round to the nearest 100 unless by chance your number is something like a 296, where this 6 is 5 or higher, so it will move the 9 up, and when you go the 9 up, it turns into 10. That 1 will carry over to the 2 to make it 300. Okay? So I want you to work on all of these after the lesson. So there's going to be some pages to work on. I'm just going to go over a little bit of each page. This says use rounding to decide if the answer is reasonable. Write yes or no. Then find the answer to see if you are correct. Well, 93 is close to 90, minus 29 is close to 30, minus 30 would equal 60. So is that reasonable? Yes. Now work it out for yourself. 93 minus 29 gives you a 4. 64. So that works out. Next one. This would be 110. Well, on this one, I know we're working with rounding to the nearest 10, but yeah, we can do that. Plus 60 would equal 170. And is that reasonable? I'd say no, because you're kind of far off. So if we work it out together, 113 plus 57 gives you 10, 7, 170. So this is one of the rare occasions where the rounding is the exact same as the actual answer. And that's because that last digit was a 3, and we took that off to go down to 110. And then the next digit on the 7 was a 7, and we added 3 to go up. So they actually covered each other. So I want you to make sure when you do these, you get your own estimate, you write yes or no, and then you work out the actual answer. Okay, and the last page, like I said, there's 4 pages. If you don't finish them, you don't finish them, you'll get to them eventually. But old Puzzle Penguin's back at it again. Today my teacher asked me to estimate the answer to this problem. Miss Smith's class brought in 384 soup labels. Mr. Alvarez's class brought in 524 soup labels. About how many labels did the two classes bring in? Well, take a look what he did. He took 384 and rounded it down to 300, and 524 and rounded it down to 500. Rounding 524 down to 500, yes, that makes sense if we're going to the nearest 100, because the digit after the 5 is a 2. That brings it down. However, with 384, he rounded that down to 300. If you look, the digit after the 3 is an 8. That would make the 3 go up to 400. So if you add the two together, you get 400 plus 500 to get 900. Okay, so Puzzle Penguin was wrong. The real answer should be, the real estimate should be 500. If you want to work out exactly, 384 plus 524, 8 plus 2 is 10, carry the 1, 8, 9, 908, and that's real close to our estimate. So I did that part for you, but that's okay. I like to help Puzzled Penguins problems. And the last part, jar D has 100 beans. Estimate how many beans are in the other jars. Okay, so here's my advice for you. You're going to look at the height. So jar D has 100 there. So I would draw a similar line all the way through, and then estimate. And there's no right or wrong answer. Just kind of get a good idea of what you think it might be, and fill them in. So, yeah. So I'm going to send you on your way. I want you to work on these 4 pages, and we'll talk more about it in a small group.